result is. 5 years after the untimely death of 21-year-old Christie Alexandra Carrasco, the family and friends of the young mother can finally breathe easier as today a verdict was handed down. An overwhelming amount of family and friends gathered outside the courtroom today as Osmar Sabido, accused of Carrasco's murder, was escorted into the Orange Walk chapter of the Supreme Court at around 10:30 this morning. Emotions inside the courtroom were very high as Carrasco's parents and close family anxiously waited as the judge read his ruling. It was a trial without jury that at the end ruled out self-defense, provocation, or accident and found Sabido guilty of murder. Norma Ruiz, who has been following the case since the inception, was in the courtroom today and has the details of the ruling in the following story.
I feel relieved, Carmen. Relieved. I can go home now. And I know he won't be able to hurt anyone. He has hurt us enough, and I think he got a just sentence life. He shouldn't be among us. He doesn't deserve to be in our community. He got what he deserved, and I am so happy.
Those were the sentiments of Sandra Carrasco, mother of Christie Carrasco, after she walked out the courtroom where the man accused of the stabbing death of her daughter was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The verdict was handed down today by Judge Herbert Lord after an hour-and-a-half long court session where he read out a 69-page ruling. In the document, Judge Lord highlighted key information of all 13 testimonies given by witnesses called by the prosecution during the length of Osmar Sabido's trial, which started on March 8, 2016, where he pleaded not guilty. After recounting testimonies by all witnesses, Judge Lord highlighted 4 points which needed to be established on the case to positively hand down a charge of murder. First, to establish the fact that Christie Carrasco was in fact deceased, which was proven based on testimonies by her mother, Sandra Carrasco, and expert witness Mario Estradaban, who performed the post-mortem examination on Carrasco. Secondly, the fact that Christie Carrasco died from harm, which was proven without a reasonable doubt by the testimony of Dr. Estradaban, who classified cause of death as exsanguination caused by 4 stab wounds to the body. Thirdly, was it Oscar Sabido who caused the harm that resulted in the death of Christie Carrasco? This was proven by the testimonies of Dion Flowers, Handa Cabranes, Erla Alvarez, Charlotte Alvarez, and PC Shane Bayton, who all saw the accused near the victim just minutes after the altercation occurred. After careful examination of the testimonies by all witnesses, Judge Lord concluded without any reasonable doubt that it was in fact Sabido who inflicted the fatal wounds on the victim. Although a submission was made by the defense to discard Dion Faber's testimony, who said that he saw Osmar Sabido inflict a wound to Carrasco's chest on the grounds that none of the other witnesses saw him at the scene. This submission was not accepted by Judge Lord, and Faber's testimony was allowed in the case and played a very important role in determining that Sabido in fact caused the fatal wounds on the victim. The last and most important element to be established in the case was if Sabido inflicted the wounds on the deceased with the intent to cause her death. And one important point in the case highlighted by the judge was the categorization of the stab wound received by Carrasco to the thumb, as it was classified by expert witness Dr. Estradaban as a defensive wound, and also the 2 stab wounds to the chest area, which the judge attributed to being caused by the accused with the intent of killing Carrasco. After all points had been extensively reviewed and established, Osmar Sabido's testimony was then brought into consideration, where Judge Lord highlighted several important facts that were not proven by the defense, including the statement given by the accused during his testimony, being that when he arrived at home, he met an infuriated Carrasco who made several statements, with the intention of provoking the accused and causing a fight. This statement was found to be untrue by the judge, as he believed that the prosecution proved without reasonable doubt that the deceased could not have been in their home in San Lorenzo at the time that Osmar Sabido said she was. As for the motions that the accused was acting in self-defense, the judge also concluded, based on evidence brought forth during the case by the prosecution, that Osmar Sabido did not and could not have believed that his life was under threat, which dismissed the notion of self-defense. The statement given by the accused that Christie was accidentally stabbed during a struggle between them was also dismissed due to evidence which proved that the wounds sustained by the victim were inflicted with great force by someone else, particularly the wound to her hand, which was classified as a defensive wound. Also heavily weighing in the case was the fact that the prosecution was able to determine, through the testimony of a forensic specialist, that Sabido's testimony that stated that the incident played out inside the house was completely untrue. The forensic specialist testified that he found blood stains along the street in front of the couple's home and beside their car, but did not find any signs of blood inside the house where Osmar Sabido testified that Carrasco received all 4 stab wounds. Due to this information, Judge Lord regarded Sabido's testimony as being untrue. In the end, after careful consideration of all the evidence brought forth during the trial of Osmar Sabido, Judge Hubert Lord rejected the entire testimony given by Sabido in relation to the events that transpired, which resulted in the death of Carrasco on the 9th of 28th February 2011, and found the accused guilty of murder and, for the laws of Belize, sentenced Sabido to life imprisonment. Reporting for CTV3 News, Norma Ruiz.
The case against Osmar Sabido commenced on March 8, 2016. Representing the prosecution were attorneys Javier Chan, Shani Dechel, and Jaime Burns. After the ruling was handed down, we got the opportunity to speak with defense attorney Oscar Salgado, who in a previous interview seemed confident that his client would walk a free man, or at most be handed a judgment of manslaughter. He told us that he was very surprised by the ruling, but believes that there is ground for an appeal.
I am indeed surprised by the ruling, because I am still of the opinion that the defenses raised, that of self-defense, provocation, and accident. Having looked at the evidence, I still believe that there was self-defense and that there was accident involved. The learned judge has made a 69-page ruling, very lengthy, took over an hour and a half to read it. I still must now go and critically analyze his ruling. But I am convinced that there is grounds upon which an appeal can be lodged from the evidence. I am still convinced that the evidence itself does not add up to a conviction.
According to Salgado, the ruling given by the judge in this case was not based on all the facts, as he believes that his client was in danger and was acting in self-defense.
He was attacked by the deceased. That is my instructions. That is what he relayed to me. And I verily believed him very much. The judge's own opinion came, and the judge's own conviction came because there was no blood inside the house, and that the accident, the brawl could not have occurred inside the house. Therefore, Osmar Sabido was not truthful. He further said that because Osmar Sabido was not at home at approximately 6 o'clock, what was said to have provoked the brawl could not have been said and done at the time. My thing is this, again, that is not here nor there, because he said approximately 6 p.m., approximately 6 could be 7. and the three rebuttal witnesses that were brought in ex improviso all said approximately 7, approximately 8. So there again were a lot of approximation in time, ifs. And I mentioned that to the judge, that you cannot take an iffy and counter another iffy with it. So that the time was irrelevant. What was relevant was whether or not, in fact, those things, words were said and those actions were done. Whether they were said at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12 p.m. is irrelevant. It's whether or not they were in fact said and done.
As for Osmar Sabido, he was extremely disappointed in the ruling and also the sentence that was handed down to him.
He is disappointed. He is disappointed because he had an honest and reasonable belief that first he was under attack, and so that the defense of self-defense was taken away and discarded by the court. So he was, in fact, disappointed. Well, I've told him from the beginning that wherever there is a judge sitting alone without a jury, the judge takes all the consideration, the facts and the law into account, so that he must keep an open mind and there is always the room for appeal. The law is saying that a person convicted of murder, as in this case, shall be sentenced to life imprisonment. And so there was no need to mitigate in this sentence. The judge has already, having heard his ruling and the tone in which he delivered this ruling, he would have come up with the same thing. So there is no point in delaying the inevitable, and it will now give Osmar Sabido time coming from now to start his appeal.
While the guilty murder verdict brings some closure to Carrasco's family, the hope is that a stronger message gets across the community, especially to women living in abusive relationships.
I know that the entire while the message that you and your family wanted to send is to say no to domestic abuse, to speak out. Do you believe that with this sentencing, that message will be sent out now?
Yes, Carmen, because if you do something, you need to pay for what you have done, especially to an innocent person. My daughter didn't deserve what she get. You know, she was a sweet, loving person. Oh man, I just wish it hadn't happened at all, that I could still have my daughter here.
It is not yet known if Sabido will agree to appeal the sentence.